So, my name's Amy. I'm the IFE's Compliance and Professional Standards Manager, and today we're going to cover EngTech registration for fire risk assessors. So, in summary, the topics I'm going to cover today is the eligibility for the register, what professional registration is, the IFE and the relationship with the Engineering Council, all the registration requirements and the application process, and then we have a series of 10 top tips for EngTech applications. So, as it says on the slide, the IFE's Register of Fire Risk Assessors is a UK-based scheme and open to those practicing within the UK only. What does registration with us mean? There's greater influence and professional recognition within the global fire sector, enhanced career prospects and earning potential. Through the IFE, you have access to special interest groups, CPD tracking facilities, and vacancies. You also, through the My IFE, have access to the IFE journal, newsletters, and all archived publications. There's local and international CPD events available for all of our members. And once registered, you do have use of an Engineering Council logo that reflects the registration status you hold. As part of the IFE's Fire Risk Assessor application, all applicants are required to be third-party accredited via the IFE with the Engineering Council. This means that your competence has been assessed at the standard required for admission onto the register at the appropriate level. So, what does it mean to be an EngTech? It's a way of demonstrating not only your commitment to the engineering profession, but also a way of demonstrating your competence, credibility, and professionalism. The post-nominals EngTech mark you out as a skilled professional and can give a higher level of public confidence in you and your abilities. How do we assess your application? So we take into consideration all of the items listed on the screen. So your fire safety experience, the academic qualifications you hold, the information that's contained within your professional review report, which is how you'll demonstrate your competence and commitment. We also look at the fire risk assessments that you have completed. The next few slides that I'm going to go through will break down each of these requirements. So your fire safety experience. This part of the application is where you can provide all the details on your employment history and how each of those demonstrate your knowledge, skills, and understanding. It's important to give as full a description as possible of your employment history, as this can be taken into account as part of your EngTech. Next up is the academics. Our peer reviewers operate a holistic view when they review your application, and they take a look at all of the fire safety and fire engineering education that you hold. We also ask that you submit copies of the qualifications along with your application as supporting evidence. So if you've got any module listings, transcripts, abstracts of information, please include these with your application. In terms of the EngTech requirements, applications follow one of two routes. There's a standard route, which put simply is that you have a qualification that's accredited by the Engineering Council as meeting the required level for EngTech. Or there's the individual route, which is for those that do not hold an accredited qualification. If you don't hold an accredited qualification, as I've already said, the reviewers look at your experience as a whole and whether that experience is at the appropriate level. For EngTech, this is assessed against the Engineering Council's approval and accreditation of qualifications and apprenticeships document, otherwise known as AAQA. Some examples of accredited level 3 qualifications are the IFE certificate in Fire Science Operations Safety and Management. There's the level 4 diploma in Fire Safety Fire Inspectors. There's station officer examinations for those who may have taken those, and the CFPA Europe Advanced Diploma in Fire Protection, awarded prior to 2016. They're just a few of the qualifications that are recognised by Engineering Council. There is a whole plethora of qualifications that are approved on the Engineering Council's Quad database. If you're unsure whether your qualification meets the requirements, by all means, send them across to us via email and we will look into this for you. So the next part of the application is the professional review report. And this is the part that seems to strike fear into the hearts of all people because they're unsure of how to write the A to E competencies. The key document when it comes to professional registration is the UK Standard for Professional Engineering Competence, shorthanded to be UK Spec. And this describes the value of becoming registered in each of the sections. And it also tells you what requirements have to be met in order to gain registration. They changed this document in the last 18 months to now give examples as well of ways you can do this. And I can't emphasize enough how important it is that you read this document. It will enable you to complete the competencies and explains the steps necessary to achieve professional registration. The A to E requirements demonstrate your competence as an engineer. And each of these A to E competencies I'll go through in a bit more detail when we get to the 10 top tips towards the end. But just as a guide, you'll see on screen now some of the activities that we list in our Fire Risk Assessor guidance document that can help you to demonstrate your A to E competencies. We also look at your CPD when you submit an application. When assessing your application, the reviewers will take into account the CPD activities that you've done because they feel it's essential to maintain and enhance the competencies that you are demonstrating. So what do we look for from your CPD? Firstly, we look at what you've done, when you did it, and what you did. But perhaps more importantly, our reviewers look at the learning outcomes. So what have you learnt from each CPD activity? And then how you're going to use that knowledge going forward. This can set us apart from other institutions who only look at the what and the when and is quite often left blank by applicants. So if you do leave it blank, we will get in contact with you and ask you to resubmit the log. As part of the application, we also look at your fire risk assessments and at any fire risk assessment training that you've done. In terms of the risk assessments that you submit, we require 4 data cleansed fire risk assessments covering a date range of greater than 6 months and less than 12 months of your application date. If you happen to use multiple templates or pro formas, we will ask for additional assessments per template to be provided. The assessments, where possible, should include a sleeping risk. If you don't complete fire risk assessments on this type of premises, you should be prepared, if you're successful at desktop paper review, that your interview will cover questions on these types of premises at an awareness level. You should only include premises that are currently occupied and that have a full fire risk assessment. Where possible, you should provide a range of premises types that demonstrate your broad fire safety knowledge. If you're successful at peer review, you'll be invited to an interview. The interviews are conducted by 2 members of our Fire Risk Register panel, and these may or may not be individuals who carried out the initial review. Our member services team will be in contact with you to arrange this interview. The interviews are designed to assist both you and the reviewers in demonstrating your competence and suitability for entry onto the IFE register. So if I move on to the top 10 tips, most people find the most challenging part of the application to be the professional review report. So that's your A to E competencies. This section of the application is designed to give you a chance to show your competence, knowledge and skill to the reviewers. I'm going to run through each of the top 10 tips listed on the screen now in a bit more detail. Firstly, plan and prepare. There's nothing to fear by writing your A to E competencies. You're just being asked to prove things you already know. There's no right or wrong answers. You're just untangling all of your experiences into the competency sets. It's important to remember that where the UK spec refers to professional standards, it's the IFE Code of Conduct and ethical principles that you're being asked to demonstrate, not any particular regulatory or technical codes of practice. Number 2, objectives A through E are equally important. So it's important to think of examples or case studies that you're particularly proud of, situations you've handled professionally, tasks you've done really well, or problems that you've helped to solve. You need to remember that these A to E competencies are about you. So you may find that some of your examples fit into more than one competency area. Others may be more specific. So what are the objectives you need to meet? The 5 areas of competence that you need to demonstrate are your knowledge and understanding, so showing how you use your knowledge of fire safety, fire engineering, either through techniques or procedures. Why did you choose that particular course of action? B's are the design, development and solving of problems. So you need to explain the different ways you've applied your knowledge to the tasks. The C's is responsibility, management and leadership. So you need to evidence what you did to plan and manage your work, the work of others. Was it as effective, as efficient as you liked it to be? Or was there room for improvement? D is your communication and interpersonal skills. So this is where you give examples of your people skills, where you've had to work with others constructively, where you've had to present your ideas and proposals effectively, or act on an awareness of diversity and inclusion. And then finally, the E's is your professional commitment. This is where you give examples of your professional, get the word out in a second, and ethical behaviour. They should demonstrate how you comply with the IFE's Code of Conduct, how you recognise your obligations to society. You should also include how you carry out your continuing professional development, so your CPD, and uphold ethics. Number 3, the key words hold clues. When you're reading the UK spec document, make sure you read beyond the initial headings. Look at the verbs as clues. These will give you ideas of what you need to demonstrate. Be methodical when you work through these. It can be helpful to underline any keywords or phrases, either in the UK spec or the Code of Conduct that you'll include within your competency descriptions. Number 4, don't be brief, go deep. Make sure you give detailed career episodes that relate to a particular situation, task, or problem, and how that demonstrates each competence. As a guide, we ask for 2 to 3 examples per competence, and you don't need to use a new career episode for each one, but you do need to make it clear how your examples demonstrate the competence. You can use the same episode as many times as you need. provided it gives you the evidence. It's not a bad thing to duplicate, as your assessor will read the entire competency report. Number 5, use I and not we. You need to take ownership of the things that you've done, making your contribution clear by writing it as an I statement and not a we did this statement. Where you've had to take action or where you've used your knowledge to support others, you can include this. Make sure you read through all of your competency statements and amend anything that talks about what other people did. Remember to use active verbs as these provide additional impact. So words like planned, developed, researched, and recommended. If something was completed in partnership with others, highlight your role in the situation and not theirs. Don't be afraid to show off, but always tell the truth. Number 6, why did you choose the particular course of action? Why did you do what you did? The volunteers that we have who review applications are a great bunch of practicing engineers and fire safety experts, but they are not mind readers. They won't infer or read between the lines. They won't make any assumptions. You have to explicitly tell them about your reasoning. So, was there a particular standard you had to abide by? If there was, tell them. Number 7, how did you do it? So, after you've been through the whys, the why you chose the solution you did, you need to include the how you implemented the solution. What actions did you take? What were the outcomes of what you did? And at all times, make sure that what you achieved is clear. Perhaps it wasn't as successful as it could have been, and you can explain what lessons you learnt and maybe how you'd do things differently next time. To make your answer especially strong, you can round this off by relating it to how you've shared lessons learnt or how this has enabled continuous improvement moving forward. It's good to discuss your A to E's with a line manager or your referee who's supporting your application. They might be able to identify if there's anything missing or if you've been overly modest about your part in things. Number 8, you need to show that you are aware of diversity and inclusion. You must ensure that the evidence you've provided demonstrates diversity and inclusion issues. On the slide, you'll see a few examples of the types of things that you can include. Number 9, CPD as a cycle. In section E4, you'll be talking about your commitment to CPD. So it's important not to just list the events, but to record your learning outcomes. You can list a mixture of formal and informal to make up the 25 hours, although 50% must be formal CPD activity. If you're successful in gaining Engineering Council registration, the IFE also take an annual sampling of all its Engineering Council registrants. This is part of our licensing agreement with the Engineering Council. To assist you with recording CPD, through the My IFE portal, we also offer you access to My Career Path, which breaks down all of the CPD elements, formal, informal, learning outcomes, and gives you one place that you can record all of your CPD activities. And finally, number 10, ethics. The reviewers want to see that you understand the relevant codes of conduct and can explain why they are necessary and how you adhere to them. You'll demonstrate this through objectives E1 to E5. And again, it's sometimes easy to miss the point here. The professional standards are the IFE standards, the ethical values that you commit to society, the environment, and the profession. It's not about the British standards or legislation. So it's important to be methodical and make full use of all of the guidance that's available to you. If you've got any application related queries at all, please do get in touch with us. On the slide now, you'll see our HQ team. And between us, we've got about 20 years of experience in helping individuals to get their membership and professional registration. So, what are the next steps? If you're not already an IFE member, you can join today as an affiliate member, which will get you access to all of the member benefits in preparation for your applications. You can see our fire risk and our engineering council areas of our website, which has full details on the registration processes, the application forms, and all of our guidance documents. And remember, there's lots of help and advice on hand from IFE staff, and you can send your inquiries through to either engc@ife.org.uk or FRA@ife.org.uk, and a member of the team will get back to you on your queries. Finally, thank you for listening. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now and we'll have a little Q&A if anybody has any questions ready.